want to talk about the curse of the ninth, the so-called curse of the ninth, and this idea that so many composers had with this fear that if they write the Ninth Symphony, that's it, it's over.
Yeah.
And of course, with so many composers, it was, and that's why it's seen as a curse. Now, what interests me about that is it's because it's not real.
No.
It's a nice story, but I wonder whether these pieces that composers write, they're like children, aren't they? They're pulled out of your body in a way. You own them. They're yours. They're important. They're special. I suppose it's inevitable in a way that you're going to feel superstitious, perhaps a little bit. You're a long way from writing a Ninth Symphony, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, it's always like, I've actually had a lot of bad karma, which means that some pieces that I've written have not been performed. So every time I write a piece or when I start a piece, I always know bad karma is around the corner. This piece, it might not get performed. So that's really like, when something like that happens, and it's so painful, because it's like they rip it out of you and then they put it in the corner. It's like, and they leave it. Don't touch the child, leave it.
After Beethoven, everyone sort of was obsessed, when number 9 came around. Maybe that's the last one. Gustav Mahler, the same thing. Yeah. For Bruckner, for sure, he knew about that as well. But what I find so extremely touching is that he finds in his faith, he finds in this symphony an answer to the question of death and, his sins and what he repents and all that. And it's in that third movement in the Adagio where he writes, and he took that from Richard Wagner, of course, he writes that movement in E major, but it only appears then as E major really at the end. And E major in music is the key of love. So Bruckner's, in his Catholic faith, his answer to all these struggles and questions is actually Christian love. And I find that very touching.
I always find it captivating when conductors do very, very little. At the beginning of that clip where there were just those tiny gestures in the left hand that he was doing, and that can only really work if that relationship is very strong between conductor and
He stands there like a field marshal, they're just leading the troops so gentle with everything. And as you say, it grows, and when it works so beautiful with a conductor as it does here with an orchestra relationship, it grows from second one on Monday morning, and then they just layer on layer on layer, and then they completely trust each other.
I mentioned at the beginning that he is a regular on the podium in Stockholm. Why is that? What works?
Well, no, it works well. First of all, Franz made his first orchestra he became chief conductor for was in Sweden. A city south of Stockholm, 2 hours Norrköping. And then we, of course, developed a relationship with him as well. So he came, and then his career flew, and then he came back and did many concerts, and we really found that we want to have a regular relationship every year.
I mentioned about the fact that Bruckner hadn't completed the fourth movement of the ninth, and so therefore it's mostly performed with just three movements. But there have been some completions, haven't there? Yeah. What's your thought on completions generally? I mean, there have been some notable successes with completions. I mean, Mahler's 10th is a good example, Derek Cook's.
No, well, I think you can do both ways, but if someone really properly is doing things and really entering in, and there is substantial material that you can do something with, and you do it in a brilliant way, it's of course you get curious about the sound. Also, maybe this is in the direction of the composer, and then there's a kind of enigma into it. It's a little bit fascinating, so I'm not against in a way, but
so it's an exercise rather than an actual standard. Because some conductors, I think, did Bernstein refuse to do the 10th, Mahler 10th, because he didn't consider it to be a true Mahler symphony?
I think so.
So it can be controversial.
It can be controversial. And I don't know how you, as a composer, how you feel about that, entering into such a thing.
Someone else stepping in. Again, you're quite a long way from...
I personally, I cannot do it, but there are people right now, especially film composers, who don't do it themselves. You hear these stories about film composers who are just getting a piano score and having all these orchestrators and letting them do the work. You hear that more and more, and there are even stories going around about certain living composers who write for the orchestras who also don't orchestrate their notes themselves.
Let's close our talk about Bruckner with another clip. It's the ending of this unfinished symphony.